Greetings everyone and welcome to our essay writing online lesson. In the previous lessons, we dealt with the process of conducting an outline, fleshing it out into an essay, and formatting the essay. In this lesson, we will talk about the different types of essay, and we start with the first type, which is the narrative essay. In this lesson, we will explain what is meant by a narrative essay and what are the steps of writing a narrative essay. So first, we will begin by explaining the nature of the narrative essay, and then we will take you in a step-by-step detailed journey of building a narrative essay from the ground up. So without any further delay, let's answer the first question: what is a narrative essay? A narrative essay is a kind of academic writing that tells the reader about the events as well as experience that happened in the writer's or some other character's life. At this point, the question of what are the characteristics of a narrative essay arises. Well, to answer the question, the characteristics of a narrative essay are: first, the purpose is to inform or tell a story. Second, the writer is the storyteller. Third, the information is presented in a chronological order. Fourth, some stories include dialogues. And fifth, it is generally preferable to keep to the past tense. Let's talk about the first characteristic. The purpose is to inform or tell a story. In the case of a narrative essay, the purpose is to narrate the various events of a given story, unlike the descriptive essay in which the main point or the main purpose is to describe something or someone. The writer is the storyteller. He is the one to control the sequencing of events and the narration of the story. The third point is one of the most important characteristics of a narrative essay. In a narrative essay, the information is presented in a chronological order. In the case of a narrative essay, what keeps the essay intact is the chronological order or the time sequencing of events. In this way, the reader or the hearer will have background information of when things happened, unlike descriptive essay in which the essential thing is to have a central idea around which we group our description. To add to the element of suspense of a given narrative essay, some stories include dialogues between different characters involved. By doing so, we give the reader the opportunity to understand the events of our essay according to different perspectives, and as such adding more to the credibility of our essay. Last but not least, it is generally preferable to keep to the past tense. Now, in this point, it's just a matter of a preference. It's not a must to keep to the past tense. Sometimes there is a justified need or a justified reason for tense shifting. So for example, when someone wants to predict something in the future, he can shift the tense. So to sum up, if there is no essential need to shift the tense, just keep to the past tense. At this point, let's talk about the organization of a narrative essay. The first paragraph of a narrative essay should set the scene. The most exciting part of your story should come at the end. In this way, you will keep the reader in suspense. Don't spoil your story by throwing away the most interesting part of it in the first sentence or paragraph. So the catch here is to try to keep the reader in suspense as much as possible. So we present the events of our story step by step without ruining it by giving the most exciting part at the very beginning. Let's dive deeper and analyze thoroughly the various components of the narrative essay. And we start with the introduction. Let's answer the question of what components are to be included within the introduction. The first component to be included is what we call the hook. The hook gets the reader's attention with an interesting or surprising fact. Number 2, the background information. Background information tells the history or what happened before the action. So by doing so, we are preparing our reader for the most interesting part by giving him some historical background. Number 3, the thesis statement, which is the most important sentence within our essay. It is the core sentence. The thesis statement prepares the reader for the main action of the story, but it doesn't tell the whole story, just a hint about the main action. The body paragraphs. The body paragraphs tell the main story. They use a lot of details to bring the story to life. So it means that within the body paragraphs, we try to answer questions like what, who, where, when, and why. So by doing so, we try to provide as much interesting details as possible for the reader to bring our story to life and to enrich it with more information. Those questions are presented in sequence. So for example, you can divide your narrative essay into a number of paragraphs. For example, 3 paragraphs. Let's talk about the first body paragraph. The first body paragraph establishes the conflict of the story. It describes when, where, and what happens in the story and why the main event is happening step by step. It often uses a chronology or time order. In relation to the second body paragraph, it describes the main events leading to the climax. It also uses time order and details. And when it comes to the third body paragraph, it describes the climax, which is the main event of the whole story. The final part of the narrative essay is the conclusion. In the concluding paragraph, the writer should eventually pull the story together and permit the reader to understand the story's importance. For example, by presenting the reader with a moral lesson, an interesting wisdom, etc. So, to sum up our lesson, writing a narrative essay is all about the elements of suspense and chronology. So within the introductory paragraph, we try to set the scene and provide some historical background for the reader. And then we mention the thesis statement, which is the most important sentence within the essay. Within the body paragraphs, we try to provide as much details as possible without leaving loose ends. And the body paragraphs are a special opportunity for the reader to get all of his questions answered. And finally, the conclusion is the place where the final solution for the climax presented within the body paragraph is given.